welcome back to my channel, Health Layer Dr. Vero here. So today I want to talk about something that a friend of mine from New York, also a doctor, she's actually a pediatrician, asked me about. She asked me if I knew anything about intermittent fasting, and I was not able to answer her. So I decided to research and look up the benefits, the drawbacks, if there's anything to why people are beginning to do more intermittent fasting and what it actually means to do that. So first, I just want to explain that intermittent fasting basically means exactly what it says. You are fasting for a specific amount of time during the week or during the day. So this means that you don't fast every single day. You fast intermittently. But there's 3 different types, and I'm going to talk about each of them and what they mean. I'm going to talk about their benefits. And lastly, I'm going to talk about whether I believe in intermittent fasting, whether I would consider doing it, reasons why I would, reasons why I wouldn't, and what I would rather do instead if I chose not to do intermittent fasting. And I'm going to show you some of my favorite snacks. Okay, so that's what we're going to go into today, so let's get started. All right, so intermittent fasting. 3 types like I mentioned. The first one that we're going to talk about is alternate fasting. What does this mean? It's basically the 5-2 rule. 5 days out of the week, you are eating normally, and then 2 days out of the week, you are fasting. So it's basically 1 day you eat normal, 1 day you fast. 1 day you eat normal, 1 day you fast. 1 day you eat normal, 1 day you fast. And you go like that through the entire week. Now, there's a common misconception here. Because you fasted yesterday for 24 hours, that means that today I can eat whatever I want. I can eat 3 Big Macs, I can have a smoothie, I can have a shake, I can eat protein, I can eat pizza, and I'm gonna be fine. No, that is not what this means. This means that you're going to eat like you normally would on the days that you are allowed to eat. And on the days that you're fasting, you are not eating at all. So what are the benefits of this diet? Benefits are that it can lower your fasting glucose level. So this is really, really good for people who have diabetes. They want to lower their glucose. I'm not saying you should do this if you have diabetes at all. I am just saying this is one of the benefits. Also, it reduces insulin resistance, which is also something very common in diabetes, and something that also reduces insulin resistance is exercise. So there are a bunch of ways that you can do this with diet as well as exercise. So this is just a really awesome benefit of intermittent fasting. Another thing that it does is that it can lower your triglycerides. This means basically your fat. When you go to a doctor and they measure your lipids in your body, they're going to measure your triglycerides, they're going to measure your cholesterol, they're going to measure a bunch of stuff. Triglycerides goes down on this kind of diet. Also, cancerous markers, or markers that can signal that there's a cancerous process going on, also decrease, as well as it improves your immunity. So basically it allows you to fight off infection better. So these are some of the benefits, but some research has found that this is not necessarily the best way, because it actually, a lot of people complain of constant hunger, and no matter how long you do this diet for, the hunger does not go away. So then the days that you're fasting, you're always going to feel hungry no matter what. Personally, I hate the feeling of hunger. I don't like feeling hungry, which is why I snack multiple times throughout the day. Aside from hunger, other things that can happen is you're obviously going to be a little bit lower energy because you're restricting your calories on the days that you're fasting. You're going to get headaches, you can get moody, you can get cranky. These are things that can happen with any diet in which you're reducing the amount of calories that you're eating. Another adverse effects of this diet is that even though a bunch of all these markers and your triglycerides go down and you get some weight loss and stuff, it actually increases your LDL, which is your bad cholesterol. It's the cholesterol you don't want, because LDL is the one that can deposit on your arteries and create atherosclerosis and build plaque around your arteries. So this is another bad side effect. Now, I'm not saying that this happens with everyone. I'm just saying that in one study, this LDL was actually shown to increase when you're doing the alternate intermittent fasting. The next one I want to talk about is modified intermittent fasting. Now, this one is very similar to alternate intermittent fasting, but there's a difference. On the days that you are eating, that you are allowed to eat, you eat like you normally would. And on the days that you're supposed to fast, in alternate, you didn't eat anything or drink anything at all during the entire day. In modified, you only eat between 20 to 25% of what you do eat on a regular day, on a regular eating day. So this is basically similar to a calorie restricted diet. The benefits of this kind of diet are actually very similar to alternate. They're exactly the same. The only thing is that modified intermittent fasting, I'll just say IF from now on for short, because intermittent fasting is just a way too long a word. But what's found is that all these benefits can also be acquired through other less restrictive diets and less strict diets, just calorie restriction. So there was no difference between modified fasting and eating calorie restriction all throughout the week instead of eating 20 to 25% on one day and eating normal the other day. So if you restrict your calories on a weekly basis every single day, you have very similar effects of weight loss and all that kind of stuff. Some of the other cool benefits that some studies found within modified IF is that patients who conducted this kind of diet actually had a boost in self-confidence, but they did also report some moodiness, some irritability, some headaches, feeling cold. Obviously, when you're eating low calories, you're gonna feel a little bit cold. So these are some of the things to look out for, and if it makes you uncomfortable, just change what you're doing or talk to someone about it. The last type of IF I wanna talk about is time-restricted IF. This basically means that you have 12 to 20 hours a day in which you are not eating. Meaning you are fasting. And then the remaining 4 to 8 hours, these are your permitted eating hours. So a lot of people will choose a set amount of calories that they want to consume on these days, and they can either do it one meal a day. Usually it's lunch, just because it's in the middle of the day, so you can, kind of space out the hunger, I guess. And then another thing you can do is have the same calories and split it up into 3 meals equally, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they kind of conducted a study, and it turns out that you have more weight loss when you have the 1 meal a day as opposed to the 3 meals a day. A drawback of doing the time-restricted IF is that when you have the 1 meal a day, you have experience of more hunger symptoms, whereas the 3 meals a day, you don't have as much hunger. Personally, I hate feeling hungry like I mentioned before, so this kind of diet for me wouldn't work, but if it works for you, by all means. Okay, so from all these 3 diets, one of the main common things that a lot of people like about it is that there's weight loss. And studies have found that there's actually between a 3 to 8% weight loss when you start doing these kinds of IF diets. The thing is that through other calorie restrictive diets, you can achieve something similar and even better. Studies have found that through regular calorie restricted diets, you can have a weight loss of 4 to 14%. And it's not as strict. Obviously, there's also benefits to restricting calories. There's weight loss, loss of visceral fat, meaning fat around your belly, which is the fat that's not good for you. You can also have, like some lower cholesterol, lower triglycerides. It improves your insulin resistance. It also reduces your fasting glucose levels. So any kind of calorie restriction is going to lead to weight loss and all these other important benefits. Which you can also get through IF. But you're not restricted to IF if you want to lose weight. You can do other things. Right, so next, alternate fasting, the first one I talked about. It's considered the worst one, and not because it's unhealthy, not because it's gonna make you feel crappy and moody and whatever. It's because a lot of people experience a lot of hunger. And this is something that a lot of people don't like feeling. So this is not really something that you want to implement if you start realizing that you can't stand the feelings of hunger. If you can, hustle through it, by all means consider doing it. But if you're the kind of person like me that you like to be eating and snacking throughout the day, like me, then this is not the diet for you. Lastly, any kind of diet in which you're restricting your calories like this and being very strict with your eating habits, it's gonna affect your mood, it's gonna affect your sleep, it's gonna affect your exercise endurance. So always, no matter what, before you start doing any kind of diet, make sure you do your research. Talk to people who have done it, ask them how they feel, ask them what they're doing, ask them if they take anything specific. Ask your doctors. A lot of doctors, I have to admit, when you ask them about IF, they may respond with, I'm not exactly sure, I'll look into it for you. But that is way better than having them say, hey, it sucks, don't do it, or oh my God, yes, you should totally do it. Because everyone's gonna react differently. And so it's good that your doctor is saying, hey, I don't know enough about it, I'll look into it for you, okay? And you should look into it yourselves as well. There's tons of resources out there for you guys to look up. There's tons of people doing it around the world. Weightlifters do it, endurance athletes do it sometimes. So just kind of do your research and then figure out if this is something that can be beneficial to you. Obviously, keep track of how you're feeling, if your mood is improving or if it's going down, if you're having trouble sleeping, if you're sleeping better, if your endurance and exercise goes down or increases. Write all this stuff down. It's really important because if it's working for you, there's no reason why you shouldn't continue doing it. Now, a lot of these studies only show short-term benefits because they're not following people years at a time. These studies were weeks, maybe even months, but it wasn't a long-term thing. So we don't really know the long-term benefits or adverse effects of these kinds of diet. Okay, so always when you're doing these kind of calorie restricted diets, follow up with your doctors, follow up your blood tests, make sure that you're getting checked out, because this is a very strict kind of diet. And so your body can start reacting in ways that you won't notice. At least you won't notice at first. Okay, now a lot of these diets actually did find that in the first few weeks of some kind of intermittent fasting diet, a lot of people said they had less energy. A lot of people said that they had they felt foggy, they felt kind of tired and stuff. But then as the weeks progressed in the study, they said that they had much more better mental capacity, more endurance mentally for mental tasks and things like this. So there's a lot of you know, not controversial, but a lot of like, hey, it's good, hey, it's not good, hey, it's actually good, hey, it's not good. So we don't really know. The more research we do, oftentimes the more confused we get and the more information we actually need. So right now, this is where we're at. We need more research. The research that has been found shows some benefits, also shows some cons, but we don't really know how good or how bad it actually is at the moment. So do your research before you do anything. All right, so what I want to say last is whether or not I would do this kind of diet. As I'm sure you've already noticed, I would not, just because I don't like feeling hungry. And I'm the kind of person that I like eating throughout the day. Just because it keeps me motivated, it keeps me more alert, it keeps my metabolism kind of stable. When I work out, I don't feel a difference in my endurance. I wouldn't want to go into a diet that's going to start affecting my mood and my endurance capacities, or it's going to start affecting my energy levels, even if it's for the first few weeks, because at the moment, you know, I need to be extremely alert with what I'm doing when I'm studying. I need my brain to function. So I'm not going to make any crazy alterations when I need everything to be functioning at its peak, you know? All right, so I'm gonna talk about some of my favorite snacks, what I like snacking on. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you would see that I post a lot of what I snack on all the time. But I wanna show you here in a little short video. It's gonna be very small, very short, succinct. It's not gonna be a very long, you know, presentation of stuff. See ya.